Hey, everybody. This is a really sad day for me because California Senator Diane Feinstein passed away. Now, as befits the society we live in today, you undoubtedly are going to know her because of something she did politically. But I know Diane, yeah, because of something she did politically, but something that I got involved in with her when she first ran for mayor as a volunteer, and then for a great campaign as for governor of California. And that was and I've had a lot of fun times. That was one of the most fun times of my life. I was advanced, an advanced person goes out, and Darius Anderson was our advanced team leader. I haven't talked to Darius in some time, but uh, wow, sorry. Darius sent me out in a group, small group, to meet Diane and Richard Blum, her late husband, at the Kaiser Airport. It's Oakland International Airport has a smaller facility called the Kaiser Air Facility for small planes. And the rule was don't let the press, I'm serious, don't let the press talk to Diane. That was the rule. And so her plane comes in, makes its way quickly down the runway, taxis in, pulls up, stops right at its predetermined point. Door flips open. She walks off graciously. And instead of coming to us, she went straight over to the throng of press people that were told not to come to her. Now, prior to that, I told Jerry Roberts of the Chronicle that he couldn't cross this line. He couldn't do this. I was very direct with him. Oh, I was so direct. And they looked at me like I was nuts. And in retrospect, I probably was. But then they went over to her and talked. I felt like an idiot. And I thought they were going to fire me because I wasn't pugilistic or anything, but I was doing what they asked me to do. So I walked in the office expecting to get, the hatchet job. I was a volunteer for them, wasn't getting paid. Um, I believed in the cause. But hey, pay or not, it's a job, right? And I thought that's gonna let me get me out of here. Nope. Everyone was happy because what happened was that Jerry Roberts had written about me in the Chronicle, the second page, and said that he misspelled my name. He spelled it Zeny as opposed to IE in Abraham, but whatever. And was making fun of my little taste of power, or something like that. I thought it was absolutely horrendous and ridiculous until they all loved it, including Diane, and I was just happy. Diane created a family atmosphere because she was a caring person, and she always would stop and talk, and I never once felt like she was here and I was there, even as a volunteer. Okay, and some political candidates were that, but in the San Francisco of the time, it's important to understand. I don't mean to say that it isn't today, but because of the people behind Diane, like myself working for her, and then meeting great people and great ladies like my friend I just texted, Jill Ozier. and the Osier sisters. Okay, the Osier sisters were like a mini law firm. I told them, but anyway, I almost wound up living with them. um, Jill's gonna kill me for this, but Jill, oh boy, um, um, everybody was just fantastic. You know, we all had one cause. We wanted her to be the first woman governor of California. That was the idea. We believed in getting her to that point because the idea that she wouldn't do well in that position never occurred to anybody. She'd been mayor of San Francisco and a great one. She was, well, if everybody remembers, she was mayor when Harvey Milk was shot by Dan White. Now, if you don't know that story, what happened was that Harvey Milk was a legendary gay politician on a who served on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And unfortunately, uh, and a time it's hard for me to recount because I mean emotionally hard because I remember where I was when it happened uh, at home in Oakland. Dan White decided he was going to kill George Moscone and Harvey Milk. Uh, you know, just to say that was awful is just an understatement. But it was Moscone's passing that essentially gave rise to Diane. I think it's fair to say. Um, she really stepped into a situation that was, as Milton Berle would say, the late great comedian from another time, a a spot you wouldn't want to send to the cleaners. She did a fantastic job. She had a knack for picking the right people to work for her. Who I cannot think of a single person who has ever worked for Diane Feinstein who is not nice. I'll say that again. I cannot think of a single person who has ever worked for Diane Feinstein. It doesn't matter if she was mayor, candidate for governor. She lost. We lost to Pete Wilson. I still can't believe that there are people that there were people who actually would vote for Pete Wilson over Diane Feinstein. Still boggles my mind to this day. It just does. I mean, what's up with that? That was to me. I remember the outcome of that election. My feeling like, yeah, we should split. In other words, California. We should have Northern California and Southern California, like they have, North Carolina and South Carolina, North California and South California. Perfect. I still think a split state's a good idea, but I digress. I still can't fathom why we lost, except that for as liberal as California likes to think that it is and not conservative, California, in a number of ways, is John Muir conservative. That is, the white guy is on top. The white guy is the smartest. And it just sort of comes out that way, even though it's not said, but it is expressed in act. And that was certainly an expression of that idea, her run for governor and the election outcome. We should have won. We had a lot of great moments, though. I remember us talking about Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show. This was the time, okay, because Bill Cosby was this great example of how a black family should be with the Cosby Show. And we were talking about ways to get the Cosby Show and Bill Cosby involved in the campaign and all this stuff. We had a lot of debates on that because some people in the room, including I think it was Lloyd, uh, said that the he didn't represent Bill Cosby didn't represent real black people. And me growing up essentially black bourgeoisie, yeah, I admit that. Uh, took a powerful, open, public disagreement with him. uh, wow, wow. Um, and then later, Diane is a graduate of Stanford. Um, and he says, as I recall, I always saw Diane at the big game, so I assumed she was a Stanford grad. So let me check that. So I don't want to, be wrong about that. But I thought I used to joke with her and Dick about the Cardinal and how we Golden Bears are going to stomp them. Um, in those days, we had a pretty good track record at the game, and then of course came Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw for a time and put all that to an end, right? Um, and but at any rate, I made the assumption that she went to Stanford, and actually, she did. She was student body vice president, so I wasn't wrong. She did go to Stanford, which means that all of my jokes are intact. Okay, fine. So I remember we were all. I ran into her and Dick behind the bleach. Well, I said behind the bleachers, but there were these bleachers at Stanford, and we were there's this pass through where you go in. It was particularly cold, and we were all talking about where to get hot coffee. Because Diane had some and I needed some, and she let me have a sip of hers, which I thought was really nice. Um, oh boy, this is really hard. I didn't think this was going to be hard at all. It is very hard. I have had a blessed life of coming up with some people that have just been friends but have done extraordinary things in politics, and she's one of them. And then I remember when I started working for GCA Strategies, like job I got because I worked Diane Feinstein for governor and got to know all these great people. And GCA Strategies was on the corner of Montgomery and Jackson. Um, and I would guess that Dick Blum still owns the building, even though he's passed on. But Deborah Heller was the principal of GCA Strategies, and her husband was Frank Heller, a fantastic guy and a great architect. And Dick was the building owner. And Diane would come, kind of came through once, twice, and I helped out with different things. I needed a job, and hey, they hired me. This was like 1991, 90, going to 92, and I stayed for a while, and then I ended up doing some political work for Frank Noto, the great Frank Noto. Um, that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We were all focused on positive social change. and that was Diane's watchword. So when I fast forward to today and I think about how she's regarded by some people, particularly with her age, I can't help but get angry. I remember San Francisco Chronicle reporter Joe Garofoli literally pounding the journalist table to have her removed from Senate because of her age. And I thought that was nothing but evil. I said it then, I said it before him, and I'll say it again. To work to be the instrument of someone's demise in your city, San Francisco, who's done so many great things, just because you think she's too old. And what have you done with your life? I don't dislike Joe as a whole, but I don't like how he came off in doing that. I thought it was despicable. I thought it was worse that the Chronicle would allow him to do it. I would not allow anyone at Zennie 62 Media to insult such a great person as Diane Feinstein. Not in this life or the next. It was wrong. Um, there'll be people who will run videos of her making mistakes, and that says a lot bad for them. Because, look, you're not going to like it if I run a video of your mistakes. And believe me, they're out there. Okay? You don't need to do that. Let a person live their lives. You know what? If they need help, don't not help them. And this says, it even speaks for Mitch McConnell too. I mean, yeah, you can't help make a video, but kind of say, hey, what happened here, right? And even he jokes about it. But you got to help because you know what? For no other reason than it's the right two reasons. A, it's the right thing to do. B, you're going to go through the same thing if you're fortunate enough to live that long to begin with. Life is not promised to us. Some of you, particularly who are younger, forget that. Life is not promised to you. So be accountable for how you treat people, particularly those of you out there who have anger management issues, who pick fights with people and wage war and don't listen, who think that you figured it out already. And when in point of fact, you have it. And from an outside looking in, looks like the world's turned against you. Oh, come on. It's not worth all that. Diane will be known for a lot of things. The assault weapons ban, yes. But for me, she will be known not just as California's longest serving senator, but as a damn loving, nice person. And that to me counts for more than anything else. I love Diane Feinstein. Always have, always will. I am blessed to have known her, blessed to have spent time talking with her. Best blessed that when I needed a backing for my Super Bowl bid back in 1999, I was working for the city of Oakland. Diane Feinstein not only endorsed, uh, produced the letter, she did it like that. Record time. I never had to worry about it. I never had to turn my back and think, well, gee, is Diane going to help me? Or gee, is Diane going to come through? Like I say, we're all family. We all know each other in the Bay Area. I think about that as I watch my longtime friend, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who I've known since 1998. Great guy, caring. I think about that as I think about my longtime friend, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaff, and how I wish she had done things differently and listened to me. But Libby cared. That Oakland cares. Her and her mom started a nonprofit way back in 1993 that I was involved with that became, yeah, the Oakland Promise. It has a kind of a legacy, right? Misstep here, error here. Maybe paperwork should have been done this way rather than that. Maybe she should have hired me to do tax increment financing, whatever the case. Libby, I think, if she had played her cards better, could have been the next Diane Feinstein. I will say it just like that. Okay. And maybe still could be. But she had it in her hands. She had it right in her grasp to do that. So when I think of Diane, I also think of Libby. Whew. Yeah. Hey Brown says, sad day, man. It is a very sad day, you know. Um, all right. I think I've said all I can say. Yeah, thanks a lot. Whew, that's hard. Excuse me. All right. That ends this broadcast. Thanks, Mr. Brown.